got the button down. Will, look at Will. I feel like I should hit the Shawn Michaels music, man. All right. Will, let's bring our man Will Z in here.
in the house, man. You know, he got a little something on the hair, you know, to slick it back.
Look at this man right here. He's got the
fresh.
Got the tight sleeves and the arms popping out a little bit. What's up, man?
What's up, guys?
How are you?
Good.
Yeah, you nervous?
A little bit. It's just different being in here.
It's literally the same exact thing we do every week. It's all good, man. What's going on, Will?
Oh, not too much. Just have that baby life. So, but
how's it going? How's it going? It's good.
Yeah, we hit a good stride.
A month now, month and a half.
Yeah, 4 weeks yesterday.
Okay, nice.
So, yeah, happy to be here. This is my last week of leave, so figure I got some time to come in, spend an hour in the studio. Might as well do it now.
Yeah, it's a good call, man.
Having you here, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. Obviously, we're all going through a range of emotions.
Yeah,
dealing with Will hits me yesterday. Hey, I'm putting together a Kyle Kuzma article. Great. Get that article posted during the show.
Yep.
About 2:45. Well, all right. Well, we're all putting in our work. We're basically working day to day at this point with the latest rumor, and the latest rumor is the article that you wrote before that, which was about why the Sacramento Kings should keep Harrison Barnes. Let's get this, because this is where I think so many people are split. Kenny, James, the Chatty House, people listening. If what we saw on draft day, you move the 24 pick, you're able to get off the Rashawn Holmes money, you clear up a bunch of cap space, you get this opportunity, you're able to re-sign Domantas Sabonis, Harrison Barnes comes back, Trey Lyles comes back, say Sasha comes over. Is that a disappointment?
I think it's only a disappointment if, like you guys have been saying, if those other players don't take the jumps that we're expecting, especially Keegan. Like, they were so good last year, and I think people might be forgetting how good they were. Mm-hmm. And I wrote about it with the Barnes stuff, and it was kind of funny. It was less work to do. Instead of it being like a third name, I was like, great, I'll just repost the Barnes article. This is easy work. But like, he's just such a perfect fit for this team in that kind of role that he fills. So different than like Kuzma would have been, that I think it'll be disappointing at first. But when we see them back on the floor together and see hopefully that growth, then I think people may be a little surprised at how well that kind of cohesion and continuity is.
And I wasn't going to argue with James Ham on his vacation, you know what I mean? But he said something where he was talking about how, it's about wins and losses. Mm-hmm. And that's how you determine. Well, I don't know how we determine that on July 15th.
Yeah, we won't. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if they don't do anything and they win 7 more games this year, is it still a fail? Like, how do we determine that?
Yeah.
So we don't know. Now, I can understand the feeling. I was excited about the possibility of Kuz or, all this money, they had to do something. And I understand the feeling that when you bring back Harrison Barnes, you don't spend much more of that money. It is a little disappointing in that respect. But you got to get past that and look at what's actually going down. Mm-hmm. They can be a better team next year, record-wise, how far they go in the playoffs with Harrison Barnes. That is 100% plausible.
And I think it'll be the most disappointing if it's just Barnes. Because, like, when we were talking a week or two ago, when they had like the $25 million in cap space, like, you were looking at like just Barnes, just Kuz before we saw that 30 million come out. Mm-hmm. But I think I'll be disappointed if it's just Barnes and then they roll with like Keon and Keita as some backups. Like, what are you doing with that extra 10 million? Like, can you bring in, now we're looking at the possibility of, can you bring in Barnes and Oubre? Then we just can scrap that whole thing where I said you bring in Oubre instead of Barnes, because that feels like a mistake at this point anyway. But there's just so much more, so many more possibilities now with that kind of second slot available, depending on that Barnes number and what's left over after the possible Sabonis renegotiation.
Sometimes we talk like just because the money is there and then it's available, that it's going to be spent the way we want it to. And
it takes two to tango.
Yeah, it could, like, I don't know this. I haven't inquired about this. I can certainly poke around the league to find out. This is just an assumption on my part. I think Monty's trying to do something.
Oh yeah,
Like I believe
so.
I believe he, whatever. But like sometimes we think our plan, our execution is what Monty's thinking.
Right.
And I think we're 0 for like 3 years in terms of thinking we know what Monty McNair is doing. So I don't know if he liked Kyle Kuzma or likes Kyle Kuzma. I think he does. I have no idea. I don't know how he feels about Kelly Oubre or Cam Johnson or PJ Washington or Miles Bridges or any other player that has come up in a conversation. I don't know how he feels about OG Anunoby, but it's like he's trying. Like I have to believe that. Like he's trying to put together a team that has an opportunity to win a championship next year. But just because if a situation comes up where it's Harrison, it's Trey, it's Keon, it's Sasha, all right, well, I guess Monty's got to try harder next year. Like I don't really know what to say about that. Like I don't think he's sitting on his hands not doing anything.
Right. And like I was telling James, all you can do, in my opinion, all you can do is put yourself in the position and give yourself the best pitch. If a guy is not at that point in his career where he cares about winning more than how many shots he puts up or trying to make it all,
or an extra $2-3 million.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's not what that does. All if where I would have a problem is if they were asleep at the wheel, so to speak, and a guy, let's just say Kuzma for argument's sake, like, oh, I would have went to the Kings, but they just didn't have the cap room to. Okay, now I'll be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, because you could have created the cap room. You could have created a situation where guys wanted to come and you didn't do that. That's not what happened here. You did your part. You're going to talk to people. You have no control of whether somebody trades with you or whether they want to come to Sacramento and play basketball. You have no control. So I don't look, if they came out of this free agency with Harrison Barnes and Grant Williams and Sasha came over, it's not, I mean, that's not a failure. That wouldn't have been my first, second, third options.
I'd love
but I
that.
also don't look at that as a failure.
You like Grant Williams?
I do. I think I like him more than, especially you, Kenny. I like his shooting. You guys were saying the numbers earlier. A little bit better than Trey. I don't know if you can have him, Trey, and Sasha on the team together. That seems like a lot of redundancy at that 4 spot, 4/5. But I like him with his defensive tenacity and that kind of shooting ability. He's not a great variety scorer. He's not going to score in like that multiple spots on the floor, but he is definitely a good stretch four that plays defense.
I don't know what the answer is. I'll say that. I don't know what the answer is.
The answer to what? Well, I was about to say what the answer is, but what do you mean?
Any of the questions?
Well, if it's a failure or not, you're gonna have to wait till the end of the season.
Oh, that saying
it's a failure.
Well, I didn't say failure. I said disappointment.
There's a difference. That is a little disappointment.
Yeah, because I think you're or James talk about winning. Well, that starts when the regular season gets. I don't think anybody's going to be thinking game 1 of the regular season about what went on in free agency.
Right.
We're talking how people are going to feel from Friday through the California Classic through Summer League, and then once training camp gets here, I think that starts to subside a little bit, and everyone's just excited for the season. But this is our fix for Kings basketball is right now.
Oh yeah,
and it's the Kyle Kuzma talk, it's the OG Anunoby talk, it's the Harrison Barnes talk. Like this is our fix right now until Monday.
I give everybody, once things are official, I give everybody 48 hours. Then it's time to move on. It's not a disappointment no more.
You can't look back and think, what if?
I give you 48 hours to get your tweets off, to call in to D-Lo and KC, to get in the chatty house and talk about how upset you are and how you wanted more to be done. Because once again, I understand the feeling. I'm not saying I don't understand the feeling. I get it. But at that point, once it's done, we know what it is. We know what it is. We know what you got. You look at this team. There's still a team that won 48 games last year. You expect somebody like Keegan Murray to get better next year. Maybe that's good enough for a win or two. You expect these guys to bring in at least one person from free agency. Hopefully that's good for a win or two. Sasha, if he's as good as people think he might be, maybe that's good for a win or two. You improve by 4 to 5 games. I don't know what your seed is because of how the conference may be, but if you improve, then no, it's not. The disappointment will subside once we got the number 1 seed or something like that.
Yeah. In 2 weeks, we're going to be falling all in love with Colby Jones and Slauson too. Like, it's just that kind of what's next on the offseason to-do list is California Classic, see them play a little, and that's who we'll be talking about, I'm sure.
Yeah, off to Vegas, do it again, and then things will quiet down a little bit. And by the way, we're not the only ones struggling to answer this. The ESPN.com had an article up today in which I think they, each, I think 5 of their, writers went over like specific questions for this upcoming free agency period. One of them was, what team has the most to prove during this upcoming free agency period? Tim Bontemps named the Bucks. Tim McMahon named the Houston Rockets. The other 3 writers named the Sacramento Kings. Now, I point that out because I look at this line here. Sacramento Kings, I'd love to see them make a big move. I'm going to read the rest of that to you, by the way. I'd love to see them make a big move. They can create $36 million in cap space by renouncing Harrison Barnes and Trey Lyles. According to ESPN's Bobby Marks, the Kings showed they can contend, gained valuable playoff experience, and now in the position to add an impact player to build on the momentum they created this past season. The end. We can go to the other one. The big question for Kings fans, front office, import some new talent during free agency that can help them get more stops. Great. What's the other one say? They've been tied to a number of forwards, including Draymond Green. They can use the space. Could be an interesting subplot over the next week. None of them listed who they think the Kings should target. Not one single person.
Just a blanket statement.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Kings make a big move. Okay, sir. Who are you talking about?
Well, look,
what's a big move?
The reason why I chuckled, and this may not be the writer's fault, it's all content. What does that even mean? Who has the most to prove this also? What does that mean? What does it mean? What does that mean? Well, we proved that we're going to win a championship because we spent money on Grant Williams. Like, the wording's wrong? What does that mean?
Hell, I don't know, Kenny. You've been really difficult the last 30 minutes. I can't lie. Ever since Joe Namath came up and Babe Ruth, I read
that. You said that right. Like, who has the most to prove this offseason?
That's what it says, yeah.
The hell does that even mean? Somebody tell me what it means, and I'll stop asking.
I'm just hung up. You completely like destroyed my point, so I don't really know what to go to next.
No.
So I'll just turn it over to you. I just thought it was funny that 3 people answered Sacramento, and not one of them had a single suggestion about what they should do. Not one. They could have said Kyle Kuzma. They could have said make an offer sheet for Cam. They all just make a big move. What? What is the move that you're go get Giannis? All right, shoot, I would have respected that. Go get
Right.
Steph Curry.
Right.
Hey, you got my attention. They offered nothing.
It feels like there's only like 4 big moves in free agency, which is Cam, Jeremy Grant, Kuzma.
I don't even think Kuzma's.
I don't know.
Kuzma's
large move.
I think
big
I put Kuzma in the big move category.
Yeah.
For this team at least.
Yeah.
For the Kings.
Okay.
Money wise, it's definitely
All
a big
right.
move.
Okay, that's fair.
But I've poured over the spreadsheets and the free agent options for like hours on end trying to find the secret answer.
It's not healthy, Will.
I know it's not. I keep expecting to just like think of a bright idea that hasn't hit me yet.
He's gonna have this moment where he's looking at his spreadsheet. Aha!
Yeah. If you take this and that,
I'm gonna tweet Monty McNair right now.
But it feels like to me the big move is the lot of little moves, which I just keep coming back to, which is like the Barnes, the Trey, one other, and Sasha.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you do those 4 along with the draft picks that you bring in, and then have some flexibility at the trade deadline again? I don't know. I just don't know if there's one singular big move by any team in free agency out there this offseason.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I mean, the Warriors made a big move. Are we saying that they've gone up because they made a move or made a big splash? Like,
Well,
It feels so
well,
lateral.
they made it. I think they made a longer term impactful move just by moving off the $120 million.
yeah, and from what I
You
hear,
can argue
though,
whether
all
they
that,
got better or
well,
not. I don't know.
but from what I hear, that only, and it still matters, that only got him out of the luxury. That didn't.
Well, that's a big deal now, though, because they're not flirting with the second tax apron anymore, so they can continue to use MLEs and things like that to, because clearly they're committed to dying by their 3 guys. So that's the only way you're going to be able to add to this team.
Oh, that's also before the Dre and Clay extension. So they may find themselves, it wouldn't be second apron, but they may find themselves close to that money again with what they signed. But I mean, the whole point of that is like,
I'm convinced now it's 3 years, $120 million for Draymond Green tomorrow.
Well, this dude Simmons said with the Kings play 4 years, 180.
Oh gosh. A 37-year-old Draymond?
Nah, bro.
Oh.
4 years,
37-year-old
180.
Draymond making, man, $45 million.
That would disappoint me.
There
There's
we go.
the
I'd be
disappointment.
Man,
I'd be disappointed with that.
y'all want them to spend. Y'all want change. Oh, be careful what you ask for. Oh, goodness gracious.
Man.
I'm fine that not being the move. Let's step out. Will's sticking around with us for the rest of the day, man. We'll talk more Kings basketball. We'll talk more NBA basketball. Here is D'Lo and KC continue on Sacramento Sports Leader ESPN 1320. There's probably something to tighten. I can do it. I got you.
I think this is it. There we go. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, man. Good to see you.
Man, Will Z.
Yeah, of course.
What's up, big Will?
Oh, not too much.
Good to see you.
Me too.
Yeah, there we go.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Oh.
Man, that is a great suit. That Victor Wembanyama suit.
Oh yeah, he did that. This dude, I was just about to say, isn't this dude like the LeBron of this draft for hockey?
Oh, is he?
He's like the next great one.
Yeah, he's supposed to be.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's supposed
Jesse
to be.
thinks he's overrated.
We'll see.
Domas ran 225 miles this season. Harrison Barnes ran 219.
They ran a lot. They were like one of the highest running teams on defense.
Yeah, Tatum and Brown are on here too. Clearly it was Miami because they got 2 guys on here. They got 3 guys on here. The Celtics and the Kings. Oh, Caleb Martin. They got 4 guys on here.
Oof.
Man, Miami was moving.
That's what I think with Barnes, if he comes back especially, is can you just play him like 5 minutes less per game? Keep him a little fresher throughout the season? Maybe that'll help with the playoff stuff.
I guess it depends on what else they do
I know.
at that position.
Starting to get a little more sold on like the Barnes and Oubre combo. Because I think you could fit that
I'd
money
like that.
wise. Oubre off the bench, much more palatable than him as a starter, I think, for a lot of people.
Shout out Leezy for that video he put together last night. We got our Kyle Kuzma video up at the last minute.
I'm glad I wrote that article when I did. It took off too. It was a
I'm
good
glad
one.
I was able to get it posted during the show.
I got real comfortable on this computer real quick. I already got my
There you
stat
go.
sites all pulled up.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Oh, man. Cameron's still in here talking about Dak. Talking about Dak is good. No, I think Dak is good. He definitely is good. Oh, Thomas Bryant. Yeah,
I like Thomas Bryant.
Backup idea.
There's a ton of great like backup big options.
Hold up, that kid is 17 years old.
They say he's next.
Damn. Wow.
They say he is next.
Is Russell Wilson overrated?
No.
I don't think so either. Oubre does nothing well. Damn, I am not him. That's a lot.
Jesus.
If they
He takes risks on defense, which pay off. Can hurt the defense a little bit. Just rein it in a touch. Long arms, athleticism.
What were you going to say, Jesse?
I was going to say, if they brought in like Grant Williams and Thomas Bryant to go with Barnes, I think that makes this whole thing a little bit better. Makes it a lot better, actually.
That's a lot. So
because Bryant's not really going to be worth, like, you get him with a minimum. It depends what Grant would get, I guess.
Yeah. But like, so you have
that wouldn't work. It wouldn't work because in that I'm not bringing back Trey Lyles, I guess.
Okay. And you also kind of said F. Kata.
I'm not with the G Leaguers.
Wow. Well, Jesse hates development. Damn. Our man Will Z, kind enough to join us live here in studio as we really just look to put another day behind us. That's all we're trying to do at this point is just get to Friday at 3:00.
We're just trying to survive.
We're almost there, fam. We are almost there. We're either going to be elated or disappointed. I don't think there's going to be an in-between anymore. No. With the way people reacted, there was no tweet by James Ham, myself, or anyone else that said Harrison Barnes has signed a deal with the Sacramento Kings. Mm-hmm. Just the mere fact that the two parties started talking again sent the Kings fan base, particularly the vocal ones on social media, into a tailspin last night.
At like 10:30 too, right?
James, so cute. Hey, I was obviously communicating with James last night. We're going back and forth on a few things like, hey, if we run with this, like, give me a heads up. Let me know what we're doing. James, bless his heart, texts me at 10:30 because he just doesn't know. I'm probably in some REM sleep at that point. Hey, sent the tweet. Cool, man. Woke up at 4:50. Okay, James, I'll retweet it now. I'll retweet it for the early crowd. But I of course, I see it, and I see the engagement that it got, and I saw the reaction. And again, James did not report that Harrison and Sacramento, reached an agreement. Just the fact that the two parties started talking again sent Kings fan base into a little bit of a fuss.
And once again, I'm not trying to speak holier than thou. When I saw that information, I wanted Kuzma. And it's like, dang. I was hoping it was Kuzma.
It feels like we all talked ourselves into it.
Oh,
that definitely happened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That definitely happened.
I wanted Kuzma. So there is a letdown from there. Like, I get it. But after 15 minutes, I was like, Harrison Barnes don't really change nothing with what I think this team can do next year. Like I said, it's going to have to look different. I mentioned earlier, if Harrison's back, he's not going to uplift this group the way I thought maybe Kuzma could help them get to another level, or OG or Jeremy Grant. It's going to have to be those other guys stepping their games up to get to another level. But we probably asked for that anyway, right? Like we asked the other day, like, hey, De'Aaron, can you get to 27? Domas, can you get to 20 and 13? Kevin Huerter, I need you to play a little better. Keegan, we're looking for you to these are things we're asking for anyway. So the thing, and some people may look at it as a negative, and it comes off with a negative connotation. I get that. That's not necessarily how I mean it. Harrison's going to give you what he's going to give you. He's not going to improve his game or step his game up, I don't believe. But I don't think he's also going to fall off a cliff. I think he's going to be 14, 15 a night. You know what I mean? And 4 rebounds, 2, 3 assists. That's what you're getting. And now everybody else has to rise up just a little bit if you want to elevate as a team.
So one of the things that I wrote about in the Barnes article is why I think Barnes is such a good fit for this team. And we saw it last year, is he's one of the lowest usage rates with the highest production. Like usage rate to production, he gives you so much. So he scored 20 points on 13 or fewer field goals 16 times. That's the second most in the NBA last year, second to Sabonis, funny enough. And his usage rate was 16.8%. And he averaged 15 points with that low of a usage rate. Of the, 208 players that had a usage rate of 17% or lower, Barnes ranked first with 15 points per game. So he's giving you the ability, in my eyes, to run the offense through Fox and Sabonis and still add more points with that lower usage than a lot of other players can give you. And I think a lot of that comes from his ability to get to the free throw line and just knock down those shots.
You heard the man.
Yeah.
We all owe him an apology. Y'all ain't been acting right when it comes to Harrison.
Yeah.
Y'all owe him an apology. Let me ask you both. I'm going to go Kenny Caraway on Corners of the Culture right now. Let me ask you a question. Which reminds me, Jesse, we have to record something immediately after the show for Corners of the Culture. And I'm going to need your help. Let's if we said Kyle Kuzma is a 10, what's Harrison?
7.
I went 8.
That's fair too. That's fine.
PJ Washington is a 10. What's Harrison?
8. So here's the thing. I think, and I don't mean to kill we can keep going. I don't want to kill your questions and asking.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Harrison is not as good as probably anybody you're going to name. So he's always going to be a little lower, but just a little lower.
That's the point. That's the
Just
point I was
lower.
getting at.
Yeah.
The reaction to the player in comp with the other players doesn't add up. It doesn't work. Like you're reacting as if I think some of the reaction is as if we're going from Michael Jordan to Bobby Hansen and not in game 6 of the finals. Just every other game.
We get Bobby Hansen, boy. We are cooking.
That 3 points Bobby Hansen scored just changed the course of history.
I thought he had 22.
But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about players if we use the tiering system, we're talking about players in a similar tier. So what that tells me is you're worried less about getting better and more worried about getting different. You've sold yourself on that. You know everything there is to know about Harrison Barnes, and you're positive that whoever your favorite option is at this position is significantly better. You've sold yourself on Kyle Kuzma is significantly better than Harrison Barnes. Now, if you told me, yeah, Kyle Kuzma is a little bit better than Harrison, he does some things better. You pointed out the rebounding. Like that's a big deal. For me, if we started right there, that's simple. Conversation last night, conversation today, conversation right now. HB, we do want you back. Like we'd love to have you here. Here's what my expectations are for you. You're going to have to rebound better than you did last year. And like that, that's got to be a part of the conversation. Yeah. But the reaction to again, just talks between Harrison and Sacramento don't match up with the type of player that Harrison Barnes is. Yeah. I think it's the fact that he's been here. I think the playoff series is living in a lot of people's heads, unfortunately. And I think it's just a totally disproportionate reaction. If there was a player that was like, whoa, if there was an NBA player, it was just, whoa, the Kings got a shot at whoa. And then you find out it's Harrison. Okay, I got you. Kyle Kuzma's not whoa. Right. Cam Johnson might be whoa.
Hey, whoa.
But he ain't whoa yet.
Yeah.
Like that player's not there right now. So like we've got to balance our need for wanting this team to be better and just wanting this team to be different.
Yeah, 100%. And that's that's kind of what I get at when I say it shouldn't be a disappointment. Like I said, I'll give you guys 48 minutes. I might even do that like restricted free agency and cut it down to 24 hours. Okay. Disappointment. No.
Just cut it down to a phone call.
Right.
This should take place. You talk about stuff that should just happen on TV. Monty McNair FaceTiming Sean Marks. Hey, we're signing Cam signed our offer sheet.
All right.
What are you doing? Like yes or no? Like we're on live TV. What are you doing? That's how it should work.
That would be some good stuff. They could put that. League Pass wouldn't be overpriced for that.
There you go. Shout out to the. I don't mean. I think so. It was the Rockets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like these guys, we always said when Kuzma, for example, put up 21 points a game last year. He's not going to put up 21 points a game here. It was going to be closer to 16, 17. It wasn't going to be that much better than what Harrison gave you. Now, the rebounding numbers would be better. Defensively, probably about the same. I don't think he's this lockdown guy. But to your point, that's what it was. It was these marginal things that, could help improve you, and help improve your team. But once again, it ain't whoa. Like you said, it's not. They had a chance to get that guy, and they whiffed at it, and it's not that, man. So Harrison.
There's also a difference between whiffing at it and you never had a chance at it. Those aren't the same things either. Again, just because the money is there, just because the money can be offered, doesn't mean you can get it. Just doesn't mean that you can sign that player.
Right now, it feels like Monty has done his due diligence. He's created the space. To be able to make something happen if something's available. I don't know if anything's available.
I personally blame Sean Marks. I think Sean Marks is the one who screwed this whole thing up. Either Sean Marks or Rich Paul. One of those two screwed this up. Because I'm riding with OG or Cam Johnson. And I love blaming Sean Marks for everything that goes wrong, so I'm going to blame Sean Marks.
Works for me.
Well, and I'll say this. With OG, I think what he wanted was kind of out of Rich Paul's hands.
Yeah, it probably wasn't Rich Paul's fault at all.
Masai Ujiri was like, whatever. I want.
Yeah, they're not doing. So here's a question I was thinking about earlier. I don't think we asked on the show. We were talking about Fred VanVleet. Is there a chance Toronto is riding on what Fred VanVleet does? Like because I mean, it's no one talks about it. Like Fred VanVleet can just sign back with Toronto, but if he does in fact take that money and go to Houston. Does Masai Ujiri finally look at it like, all right, let's go in a different direction here? Or or is it inconsequential what Fred VanVleet does?
What you think, Will?
I don't know. Toronto's so confusing. It feels like they have to have a point guard. Like their point guard situation is just so weird because they're so wing heavy. So I wouldn't be surprised if it centers so much on that. And almost I'd rather them wait on OG. Like I'll be more disappointed if they trade OG to another team than if they don't trade him at all, because that means we could get a second chance at him at the trade deadline maybe. But it does kind of feel like they're just constantly in that sit and wait, and Masai just isn't going to lose a deal in his eyes.
And I feel like from all the talk that I heard during the season, maybe they aren't waiting on Fred VanVleet because it feels like it was over during the season. Like they knew Fred wasn't coming back.
Well, they didn't trade him though.
No, maybe it was a little past the deadline. Well, I thought it was maybe around the deadline too. So maybe they could have traded him, but maybe they're wishing upon a star. Sure. And Fred is like, I don't know what you guys are doing this for. I'm out. But I remember that was the talk that it was just all bad because what he do? Didn't he fire his agent in the middle of the season? Fred VanVleet?
Yeah, I think he's with Clutch.
He's with Clutch now?
I think so.
Yeah, I thought he fired his agent around the trade deadline or something like that.
I didn't know Davion changed agents.
I didn't know that either.
He talked about it on the...
Who's he with?
I have no idea. I didn't know about it until I listened to the pod. I didn't research it when I got home, when I got done listening to it. I swear Fred VanVleet is with Clutch, but now I'm just stuck on it. Now I'm looking. Now it brings I searched Fred VanVleet Clutch and Clutch shooting from Fred VanVleet. Like that's not what I wanted. It's a different kind of Clutch.
Isn't it Clutch with a K?
It is.
Here's
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He is.
in February.
Now I want to know who's Dave.
Yeah, for the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got rid. So Clutch lost OG, but gained Fred VanVleet.
Well, there you go.
It happens. It's part of the game.
And it is. It is.
It's hard to figure out what Toronto's doing though. Toronto.
It's hard to figure out what any of these teams are doing. Davion's with CAA. Good for him.
Oh, nice.
That's where OG.
That's who I think I was going to say.
Mhm.
I think that's who OG's with now. Y'all agents control a lot of.
They control everything.
They really do.
Like that's that. Like I almost don't ever want to hear too much about agents because it's almost like showing how the sausage is made or whatever. Like because when you get down to it, they run everything.
Mm-hmm.
They run everything. They can set up a move in 2023 that's going to set up a move with the same exact team for 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Like they run everything. And it's like, oh man, the general managers don't have no power.
Well, they do because they got to manage those relationships too. Like so much of this stuff is managing relationships. Like look at what your boy Danny Ainge did in the last. Like that's relationship stuff. Yeah. That's relationships, like general manager stuff. That's relationships, agent stuff. That's why you see so many teams getting sweetheart deals. And we're not getting any.
Right. So, somebody said
we ain't got enough equity yet.
Somebody said that with the agents and the general managers, it's always like, all right, as a general manager, I'll look out for you right here and sign your guy to this contract. As long you look out on the back end with another player. And they're like, it never comes back around. It never happens on the other
one. But in that same discussion, it's like, no, you're going to move this player. Because if you don't, that long list of clients I have will never take a meeting with you ever again, regardless of what city you're in.
Right.
That's wild.
They run it.
There are agents in the league right now that don't like Sacramento.
But what's his name on the list? Bagley's guy? Remember he wrote
I think Bagley's,
but that's
Bill Duffy, I think.
It was I thought it was somebody else.
Maybe not. Maybe it's not Bill Duffy.
Because he came out with the article, but I think he does have a Kings player on his.
I think you're talking about Jeff Schwartz, and I'm pretty sure his Kings player was Barnes.
Yeah, Jeff Schwartz is XL. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Jeffy, baby.
Jeff, what's good, baby? We big fans of XL.
Let's talk.
Management. Come here, Jeff. Let me holler at you, play. Well, but the thing is, though. Like Monty, that wasn't me. That ain't me.
Yeah.
That was Vladdy. That was Joe or Peja or whoever the hell was in charge. Wasn't me. I got you. Let's sit down. You know Wes. Wes from Atlanta. Come on, man. Let's go. Let's talk. Yeah,
Wes.
You know Wes. Wes.
You know Wes.
It really feels like it should be reset every time you have a new general manager.
Oh, you have to. Yeah. I don't think it's not a vendetta against the city.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, an owner gets involved and then you have an agent that just hates an owner. And I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
Much like the fan base, I think a lot of the venom was reserved for Vlade Divac. Vlade Divac, the general manager, of course, not Vlade Divac.
Although Monty wasn't his thing was like they were promised something and they didn't deliver. They were promised to move him or something like that. That was Monty as general manager.
The Jeff Schwartz article. Yeah, I think that came that was, if I remember right, that was right before the start of when we learned Marvin wasn't gonna start, and I feel like it might have been said Marvin wasn't gonna play.
Yeah,
like he didn't
out of the rotation.
Fit. So and like I don't
demanded a trade or something.
I don't fault Jeff for like your job is to protect your client. In that situation, you probably do have to say something. It's an embarrassing situation. He's the former number 2 pick in the draft. A good agent would say something. But yeah, let's talk about Harrison now. Come on, Jeff. Let's sit down and talk. Man. But XL Sports is a big place. I don't know that Jeff. I don't know if he represents Harrison Barnes, but I know his agency certainly does.
We should all be agents.
Let's do it.
Start an agency.
It's I'll say this. When you go to negotiate your contract, it's a lot easier to fight for someone else than it is yourself. Because you like agents, like think about whatever your first reaction is to an agent, and it's normally something negative, right? Or if you're in a position of power, if you're a general manager, if you're a vice president of a cluster of radio stations, your first reaction to an agent is probably, but that's because they're going to fight for you. Like I could fight for you and I can fight for Jesse and I'll talk you guys up to death. But when I have to fight for myself, it's really difficult because you're essentially going in there and saying, listen, let me tell you why I'm great. I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you why you can't live without me. That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah.
In the salary cap world, though, it's interesting. That's why I did the stuff in the WNBA. It was easy. Yeah. You're either a max player or you're not. Right. I never negotiated a contract.
It just is what it is.
She's a max player. Like there's nothing to discuss.
Right. Right.
4 years. How much can you get? That's the dollar figure. Send it over. We'll e-sign it, and it's over. Like it's that simple. And max contracts in the WNBA are not max. That's why I don't blame LeBron. Like I feel bad for Aaron Goodwin. Like LeBron dumped Aaron Goodwin when his second deal was coming up. But what contract has Rich Paul ever had to negotiate?
Right.
Nothing.
He just had to figure out what the parameters were for what's the deal Cleveland can sign, what's the deal Miami can sign, what's the deal that staying with a team versus leaving a team can sign, because I'm never going to sign anything less than the most amount of money you can pay my client. Now he's negotiated for his other clients, of course, but I don't blame LeBron for leaving an agent when he never had to negotiate a contract with an NBA team in his life.
Hey, and look, it's a little different, but that's what I kept saying about Lamar Jackson. I don't need no agent. It's already been established. I either get this or I don't play.
Yeah.
Like I either get this or I don't play. Kyler Murray makes this. Here's my resume. I either get $10 million more than this or I don't play. Choice is yours.
Yeah, he never said that though.
No, not publicly.
No, he never said that though.
That's how I would have negotiated as Lamar Jackson. I'm glad he didn't sign an agent.
I'm just glad he got his deal.
Yeah, and he got that done without signing an agent.
Regardless of how he did it, I'm glad he got his deal. And there doesn't seem to be anything shady in it until you find out. Lamar was cut the third game of the season because he missed the fine print on page 476. His contract's the size of the new NBA CBA. Will, you strike me as the type of person who would read a 676-page collective bargaining agreement.
That sounds awful. Like just
the great part
terrible.
Is it's distributed to every player. Like you guys got to read this.
There's no way the players read that.
It's like, hey guys, these are your rights as a player. Here you go.
That's a lot. 676 pages.
Man, yeah.
Wow.
That's rough. I keep thinking like, oh, maybe I'll learn more about the salary cap and like the CBA and stuff. And then I remember how confusing it is. Maybe I'll just stick to stats.
Yeah. It's
do you think they make it more complicated than it needs to be? Because there are certain things where they seem to account for everything, which is good. But
you have to, like, there's billions of dollars, like as a entity on the line that you have to understand how that stuff is distributed.
Yeah.
Because for you, if it's one, the splits in the collective bargaining agreement. So if we'll just say for argument's sake, I don't know the exact number, but I'm sure it's very close to 50-50. If the NBA is worth $10 billion, for example, and $5 billion go to the owners and the other $5 billion go to the players, I want to know what I'm entitled to with that $5 billion. If I'm one of, however many hundreds of players that are in the league, I want to know which part of this is mine and how I make sure I get it all.
Yeah. I mean, these things can't be as simple. In some respects, you feel like it should be as simple as, hey, the cap is $300 million. You can allocate that as much as however you like. But the floor is 190, the cap is $300 million.
But that's the team.
Right.
But what about me? What's the most I can make if I stay in Sacramento? What's the most I can make? What's the most I can make if I go to Golden State? You know, like
as an individual,
yeah,
you can make.
Well, what I mean is that's the stuff you have to know in the collective bargaining agreement.
Right. But you know, they got MLEs and all this stuff. Like, it's $300 million. Don't go over the cap. If you do, there's a tax, and then for every dollar we're taxing you that, and that doesn't even mean like you can sign more, but that just means
that's probably why the collective bargaining agreement is so long, because it's year 1, these are your taxes. Year 2, these are your taxes. Year 3, you really need to rethink your life choices, because here are your taxes. And if you're on the second apron and you hit year 2, you might as well find something else to do with your life.
Yeah.
Because your time is coming to an end.
You can re-sign your own players, but if you want to go get somebody that wasn't under contract by you, they count against the cap.
I can't wait to see the CBA in like 3 years and just what it does to the league.
The third tier of the third tier of the second apron just says, Mike Dunleavy, no matter what Joe Lacob says, abort this mission immediately, because you're the only one reading this page.
What's that part on Space Jam when they scored so many points and then the scoreboard
just goes to infinity?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it says crazy, isn't it? That's the third apron.
That's
crazy. Isn't
that's the Joe Lacob apron. Joe Lacob's jersey is going to be hung up there in the third apron of the collective bargaining agreement.
So, Will, is there, you've broken down the free agents and trade. Is there, get Harrison Barnes here. Let's say Harrison comes here. Where would you want this team to go specifically? Is it a Grant Williams? Is it, you talked about Kelly Oubre, like you got one more slot for this roster. Where you want to go with that slot?
It's either a really good backup center, like we're talking could be a starter center on a few other teams. I don't think Lopez falls that low. I think he's above that tier, so I don't think you could get Lopez and Barnes, but that would really excite me. Or it's another player around the same level as Barnes in that wing spot, because I don't think we need guards. We definitely don't need another like starting center. Again, Lopez a little different than others, but so either that similar status to Barnes, the like the Oubre's, the Taurean Prince, somewhere along those lines. So that
Taurean Prince, I like that.
Yeah,
I like the Taurean Prince.
You could probably let the Brook Lopez thing go.
I think so too.
Yeah,
that's a pipe dream that we're never going to see.
That's fine.
But the Taurean Prince one though, that's
I like
very intriguing.
Yeah.
I like that.
Someone like Bruce Brown too.
Mm-hmm.
I know he gets floated around a lot. I still would be so surprised if he leaves Denver, even with that minimal offer that they can give him. He seems to love it there. We saw Malone say that they plan on bringing him back, and his parade fun.
Right. Somebody asked, is Mike Malone still drunk?
Yeah.
But he's entitled to be.
Yeah, he should. They're just saying, is he still
cut it up?
Is he still tossing him back?
Go for it, big fella. Probably still telling Laker jokes somewhere.
Yeah. What I'm hoping for too is just give me another athletic big. Metu was really good in that spot last year.
Oh, we never talk about
that. I know. It feels like he's not coming back. But can you get someone of that type? I really like Dwight Powell.
Just to be clear, you're entering free agency going, I really need someone like Chimezie Metu.
I know.
Who did that, Shaq? Oh, with Jaylen Brown. Yeah, I'd move on from Jaylen Brown to get a Jaylen Brown-like player.
And he really did say that. They don't work well together anymore. So give me a player just like him.
And that's kind of, it's funny because it's true. It feels like I don't know if this is true. I haven't talked to anyone, but it feels like the coaching staff may not trust Metu, which makes me think that that's kind of where the pairing is ready to go different ways. But can you get someone with that skill set that they'll trust more? Maybe someone who has a little more defensive
acumen.
Yeah, who's not when he's good on defense, he's good, but
his DNA is to be, a little more defense first.
Yeah, he just had a little too many lapses, I think. So can you get someone who's a little more steady, who produces on a nightly basis more continuously? So Like,
I think I was a one-man wolf pack with Metu. I like.
yeah.
I didn't have any
No.
issue with his time on the court, and I don't have no problem with him coming
don't
back.
have no
if he
problem.
came back.
Well, I don't think we need to do that.
It'd be
I don't have no-
really cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but at some point you're going to run out of roster spots. Like, what are you going to do with him?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at him as like that third center, third power forward type guy. I thought he was.
Why do you hate
okay.
me as Kada?
I said third. Kid
Well,
second.
Oh, I thought you had Trey at second.
Nah, I got him as the second. Well, yeah, it gets a little wonky
Okay.
there in that.
Okay.
in
By the
big man
way,
thing.
can I point out we've got our nerve laughing at Shaq? Because how many times did we say if we're going to replace Harrison Barnes, we need a player like
Mhm.
Harrison Barnes?
That's true.
We're hypocrites.
That's why we understood
Yeah.
what Shaq was
Look,
saying.
Shaq, we know what you mean, but you got to understand it sounds as ridiculous as we do.
Right.
We need a
But no, I
player.
don't know. Like I said, I understand that I'm in the minority, but I thought Metsu's time on the floor wasn't as bad as everybody else thought it was.
Kenny trying to
last
run
year.
it all the way back.
Yeah.
Not just kind of run it back. Just
Well, I tried to get a new small forward, but
Easier
okay.
said than
Well,
done.
that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen, buddy. Allegedly.
Is it possible that even with all this money in free agency, the most important part of next season has nothing to do with free agency?
it's all about Keegan Murray.
Exactly. Yeah.
Keegan Murray makes a jump and goes, like I said, I'm thinking points per game. His rebounds, I think, were about 5. But if maybe 4 or 5, I don't know. Maybe you could help me out with that.
4.6.
4.6. If he can go to 14 and 7,
Mhm.
we can. All right, we got action.
That's a less than 2-point jump too. He was at 12.2.
I
So
think
last
Greedy
year,
and say 15 and 7. Then.
yeah, last
15
year
and 7.
when Keegan scored 20 points or more, the Kings were 12-1.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
And
We'll
that's
score
just
20
20.
points a game, Keegan, and we're just fine.
Yeah.
We'll break the Warriors record. We'll be just
Yeah.
fine.
That's where it seems like bring back Barnes, big jump from not even a big jump. I mean, that's substantial, but it's really just more volume for him, I think. Do that, bring in some role players, and I think I'll be happy.
I also think there could be a jump and improvement from Davion. I think
Yeah, I
Davion
hope
can
so.
get better.
I just really want Davion to find. I want Mike Brown and Davion to find like the spot for him.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this last year, and particularly Casey, you brought this up. Just the rotation of De'Aaron, like in and out, and kind of Davion coming in without De'Aaron, and the De'Aaron coming back in,
Mm-hmm.
and then De'Aaron and Davion in the backcourt, and how it was probably difficult for him to find his groove. But that's part of being on a team, right? Like, and that's part of Mike Brown's responsibility, because I don't think anybody believes that Davion Mitchell isn't a really important component of the Sacramento Kings. Regularly referred to as the best on-ball defender in the league.
Mm-hmm.
If the only reason, to me, if you're having a conversation about trading Davion Mitchell, I think the only person you're even entertaining, like realistically, in that conversation is OG Anunoby, because you need another high-level defender back. Like you can't trade him for an offensive player. Like you need another high-end defender back. If OG Anunoby is out of the question, and I think we're all of the belief that he is, Davion Mitchell is a Sacramento King, and he's a Sacramento, and use this year to definitively find that role for him and allow him to really get his feet planted in this league. Because year one was year one. We all know what it was. Year two, okay, we're kind of correcting the ship here. You got a different type of coach who, by the way, we always talk about players. Mike was trying to figure out a lot last year with this roster, and then being back as the main guy on the sideline for the first time in 8 years or 7 years or whatever it was for him. So I'm with you in that regard. We talk a lot about Keegan, but I'm expecting something from Davion this year too.
Yeah, I think I don't want to go so far to say he's overqualified for that role. I do think
he's a
I do
starting
think
caliber.
He can start in this league.
Yeah, he's a
sure.
starting caliber.
But that
guard,
to me makes him perfect for this role. Like I want him here. I want this to work. I want him to continue to be on the team because I think he is perfect in that role, where we saw in the playoffs. Unfortunately, it wasn't game 7, but in game 2, he was able to close out a game for you. And that's what I'm looking for with these guys.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about the starters, and and this is where I get, I talk whatever I say about the backup center, because none of these guys are closing the game out for you. None of them are closing it out. So I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna freak out over it. Davion is a guy that can close out a game for you. He can be on that court in the fourth quarter to help put things away. And I want to see if what he can do as far as his progression as a ball player. His third year, second year with Mike Brown, like you said, Damian. I like for them to really get on the same page. It seems like Mike Brown from day one has always loved Davion, but I wasn't sure he knew exactly what to do with them. I hope they get on the same page from day one, and he could have a really, really big season next year. I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so too.
And looking at Davion and kind of his shooting splits from year 1 to year 2, to me, I think he made a lot of bigger jumps than just in the splits. You guys have talked about it, how his percentages have gone up. Pulling up his shooting splits by area, restricted area, rookie year, 60%, last year, 66.3 in the paint. So floater area, 40% first year, 52 in last year. Mid-range, 40% up to 48. Corners went down 35 first year, 30 last year, and then above the break 31 up to 32.7. So especially those first 3, the restricted area, paint, and mid-range, those all were pretty big jumps, 6, 12, and 8%. He gives, I love when players have that versatility of scoring. We've seen, especially when Fox is out with injury or anything, that it's tough for them to kind of fill that mid-range volume. Can he up his mid-range volume, get up to 50, 52% from that spot, work a little more in the floater area? Like, he's so crafty at getting inside. So we always talk about his 3-point shooting, but I think there's other room for him to grow on offense as well.
He also got better at the free throw line this past season. That was important for me.
So Kelly Oubre tomorrow?
Let's do it.
Yep.
We had
Tsunami Poppy.
We had Kuzma yesterday. We got Harrison today. What can we find out over the course
Who
of the
gets the front page of our screensaver tomorrow?
Oh, that's incredible. This nightmare will be over in like 47 hours, which is awesome because free agency begins then. Then. But really, free agency kind of ends at like 3:15.
Oh, yeah.
Once the initial drafts of tweets go out, it's kind of like, all right, what do we do now? What happens next?
So when you start looking for those 15th roster
All right,
spots.
that's it. That's it. So Cam Reddish isn't signed yet.
Hey, Cam, come to Sacramento, baby. Come on, Cam. I think you can turn your career
If
around.
Cam Reddish is a Sacramento King in the next week, there'll be never more certainty that the front office listens to this show.
Yeah, they'll be like, then ain't even gonna be a celebration. It's just gonna be like, all right, let's get to work.
Though we got that on pretty good certainty already.
Yes.
Shout out to the folks at the Golden One Center.
Big ups, man.
We love y'all,
Good
man.
people over there.
We love y'all. Will, thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
It was
it.
fun.
Yes, indeed. It's fun to have you here in studio. Thanks